Phone starts ringing time I get ready to go. My girlfriend. No, if it was, no, I wouldn't answer it. Let my girlfriend call. It's Terry. One down, one to go.
Yay! I was getting nervous. Did you drive? Give me a ride home? Since we're in the neighborhood? Sure. I was on the metro. I was downtown today. My husband said, I'll come get you. I'm thinking, I think somebody can take me home.
I mean, I've been here in the county for an hour. It's terrible to be at home today.
Oh, is that really bad?
395 was backed up, so they 495 was backed up. Van Dorn Street was backed up.
I had a meeting in town all day, so I was going to come here and just do work, and I thought, you know what? I've been in a meeting all day. I'm going to be in a meeting all night, and then theoretically I'm going to go home and actually work on an application. I need a break. So I thought I'd stop at the mall real quick. I forgot that it's like senior graduation, and I was following with kids. So I was like, okay, but I stopped at the store, got what I needed, and got back on the metro and came over here, so it wasn't too bad. But it was like, okay, this is my dinner.
It's funny how some days it's just everything's going on, and other days things are quiet.
Yeah.
I went to D.C. Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which day. And I got over to, I was going to the Blue Circle just to go to the store and leave. I got over there. The streets were for the museum, I mean, embassy tour.
Uh-oh, last weekend was embassy tour?
Parking space. I pulled over on Connecticut Avenue. There were plenty of parking spaces.
Because everybody had
I
come
pulled right
into
up in front of the store I wanted to go to. And I thought, what a city. Isn't that great?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay, so Monica is going to be coming a little bit late.
Okay. I can't start this to Drew, what you do to the people?
What's
What
that?
you do to the members? Tell them don't come?
Monica said she had to come late. She didn't say very late. She said minutes late.
Minutes late? Okay. So she's on Cecilia time.
Charles.
Yeah, he's failed. And Judy told us last month that this is the only conflict that she had scheduled.
Are we missing one person tonight?
We're missing two.
Oh, I was supposed to move over.
Yeah.
I got my screen up. I'll move over.
Yeah, we couldn't even, and Monica
Couldn't figure it out.
text me.
I should have looked at my name tag. Yep. Hot in here.
It's always warm. What's that?
This one's low. And it goes back and it stays.
You can adjust these, can't you?
Well, I wouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's probably just right for whatever county board member sits with me. There will be memos all about.
Yeah, it's so funny. I could so now and then. Okay. Hello, if anybody's here to testify in one of the proceedings and you're not an applicant, there are speaker slips up front, and it'd be a great time while we're waiting for our third board member to show up to fill out those speaker slips if you want to speak, just so I can get them organized in the agenda. We only have 3 board members tonight, but we do need 3 board members in order to function. The third board member is on her way. She should be here shortly, and once she arrives, we'll proceed with the hearings.
speed her up a little bit. Sure. Do you have 5 copies? Okay. We knew she was going to be a little. One other member just found out today he dragged some function for his work. I didn't find out about that until about 4 o'clock today. So. Awesome. Awesome. All right, here's some letters of support. It's just a deferral. It's a deferred.
No, I just mean some of the comments that I've talked about. Not that I haven't talked about much of it. Why don't you take one of them?
Sure. That's right.
So,
Take it, Teresa. Got that. We have. It's okay. Probably have another one somewhere.
I have 2. I gave 2 to you.
Oh, these are 2 hooked together?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
There were 2 here, maybe there were 2 in this one. Yeah, there were
I
2
think
in
that's.
this one. You traded.
Hopefully she can make it here. I'm trying to defer 12 more cases to an agenda of 25 next month. Funny thing is, I think we only have 9 or 10 in July. It just comes in waves.
It does. Well, everybody wants to build, you know.
That's why I thought the middle of winter we'd have a lot more. Everyone getting ready for spring and the summer. But
Everybody had their taxes.
probably right.
Couldn't afford it.
Right.
everybody can take a sigh of relief. We won't have to defer any cases. Our third board member has shown up, so we'll be able to proceed.
Where? At my home? Well, sorry. At least I told you in advance, right?
And then we knew Jody wouldn't make it, so I was like, oh, let's go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cecilia Espinoza, and I'm the chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals for Arlington County. The board is made up of 5 citizens usually, although as you see tonight, we will have 3 of us here. The 5 citizens have been appointed to serve in this capacity by the Circuit Court of Circuit Court. In addition to myself, to my left is Monica Craven, who's the vice chair of the board, and to my right is Mr. Terry Russell, who's very knowledgeable, having been a former zoning administrator here for us in Arlington, so he's an expert on these issues, and we appreciate his service. Also present tonight are our professional staff. We have our zoning administrator, Norma Cozen, our deputy zoning administrator, Andrew Noxon, who serves as the secretary to the Board of Zoning Appeals, Cliff Hogan, assistant to the zoning administrator, and Cheryl Williams, who are our professional staff. We thank you for being here and extend a warm welcome. We are sorry for the delay, but we look forward to hearing these cases this evening, and we are prepared to do so as soon as we finish some opening statements. However, at this time, to avoid disruptions, we'd ask that you please turn your cell phones or pagers or iPads or anything that might ring off to make sure that they're in silent mode. The board's powers are prescribed in the Code of Virginia and are set out in further detail in the county zoning's ordinance adopted by the county board. The Board of Zoning Appeals does not have the power to rezone property or amend the regulations that are set forth in the ordinance. That authority rests with the county board. The board has the authority to do 3 things. We can approve use permits that allow modifications of placement requirements for structures on 1- and 2-family lots where there is no option in the zoning ordinance to allow such modifications. We can grant variances from the specific requirements of the zoning ordinance, and we can decide appeals of the decisions of the zoning administrator. When approving use permits, the Board of Zoning Appeals may impose conditions that it deems necessary in the public interest, including limiting the duration of the use permit. In order to approve a use permit, the board shall find that the proposal will not adversely affect the health or safety of persons residing in the neighborhood. It will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or improvements in the neighborhood, and it will not be in conflict with the purposes of the master plans and the land use and zoning related policies of the county. To do this, the BZA shall consider whether the modification will promote compatibility of development with the surrounding neighborhood because the structure's overall footprint size and placement are similar to the structures on the properties surrounding the lot in question, and whether the modification will help preserve natural landform, historical features, and/or significant trees or foliage. When granting variances, the board must determine that the strict application of the ordinance would produce undue hardship, that the hardship is not generally shared by other properties in the same zoning district, and that the authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property, and that the character of the district will not be changed by the granting of the variance. A Virginia Supreme Court ruling requires that a variance cannot be granted unless the effect of the zoning ordinance, as applied to the piece of property under consideration, would, in the absence of a variance, interfere with all reasonable beneficial uses of the property taken as a whole. We are bound by that decision. When deciding appeals of the zoning administrator, the board must determine if the administrator acted correctly. This evening, the cases will be called and a brief staff report and recommendation will be given. Following that, board members will ask any questions of the staff they may have. Next, applicants or their representative will be given an opportunity to make comments to support the application or appeal. If they choose to make a comment, they must come forward to the podium, and it does move up and down, so if it's too high or too low, you can move that up, so their comments can be recorded for the record. Next, all speakers for the item will be called. Speakers must fill out a speaker slip. I think I've asked everyone to do that, but if you came late and you haven't done so, they're on the front desk here in the small box. Please provide that speaker slip to Ms. Williams before the items are called for discussion. After we hear from the speakers for and against the proposal, the board may permit the applicant a brief opportunity to clarify any points. The board may ask questions of any speakers, but does not permit and will not condone any cross-examination or direct questioning by others. We have deemed the following time limits for speakers to be sufficient: 5 minutes for applicants for use permits and variances. And for use permits, variances, and appeals, we've deemed 3 minutes for representatives of organizations and 2 minutes for individuals as sufficient. After the board has gathered all the information they need and discussed the case, it will decide the matter by voting on a motion duly made and seconded. A majority is needed to approve any motion. Any appeal from the decision of the board must be made to the circuit court in accordance with state law. I forgot to mention up front on the table, you will also find copies of the staff report for each case before us this evening. If you have not already seen the report that deals with your case, please feel free to come up at any time and grab a copy and review it before your case is called. After the case that you're here has been heard, you are welcome to stay for the balance of the session, or you can leave at your convenience. Thank you for being here this evening. Mr. Noxon, can you call the first case, which I believe is a deferral?
Thank you. Good evening. Our first case tonight is a deferral. This is an appeal. The case number is V-10788-13-APP-1. This is an appeal by Jewel Associates, LLC, of a notice of violation and subsequent tickets issued by the zoning division relating to various approved conditions of site plan number 377. It's in the MUVS zoning district, premises known as 3409 Wilson Boulevard, and this is also in Ballston, Virginia Square.
Any questions of Mr. Noxon? Seeing none, I'm prepared to receive a motion if anyone's prepared to make one.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Russell.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals defer the subject appeal to the June 13th, 2013 Board of Zoning Appeals hearing.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. And the motion carries. Mr. Noxon, the next case.
Next case tonight is V-10672-12-UP-1. This is a use permit amendment by Scott and Anna Maria Donaher to expand a deck approved by previous use permit, and this is for a new rear deck that was recently constructed. This is in the R27 zoning district, premises known as 2032 South Lowell Street.
And the recommendation of the staff is to adopt the attached resolution approving the subject use permit with conditions. Any questions of staff? Nope. Seeing none, are Scott Danaher or Anne Marie Preto Danaher here? If you'd come forward, please. Anything you'd like to share with us this evening?
No,
Okay. You concur with the staff's recommendation?
I would be honored.
Okay, if you give us just a moment, we'll see if we have any final questions, and then if not, I'm ready to entertain a motion in this matter.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Russell?
this is a very, very minor change due to construction error, which is so minor you can almost not call it an error. So I would be glad to make a motion. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution granting use permit V-10672-12-UP2 subject to the conditions listed in the resolution.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Russell and Ms. Craven. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Hey, your next case tonight is case number V-10778-13-UP-1. It's a use permit request by Moira Forbes and Jared Hughes to permit a setback of 8 feet to the eave and 8.8 feet to the wall of a new covered stoop with steps from the left side property line instead of 10 feet as required. Also, an aggregate side yard of 17.1 feet instead of 18 feet as required. It's for the construction of a new left side covered stoop with steps. This is in the R6 zoning district, premises known as 2601 19th Street South.
Thank you, Mr. Noxon. Any questions from this board? The recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution approving the subject use permit with conditions. Are Moria Forbes or Jared Hughes here? Cheryl, do we make that go up and down, or is there some place he can push that?
Right there on the right side.
There we go.
Good evening, I'm Jared Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Anything you want to share with the board?
No, we concur with the staff report. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chairman, I do have a question.
Yes. Ms. Craven?
I noticed that there are no signatures from neighbors in support or opposition.
Yes, we have, on the right side, the side away from the stoop, there's a park, so there's nothing there. On the left side, we did attempt to contact our neighbor. We went by a few times and knocked on the door, and we ended up putting a letter in her box, including the full, I don't know if it was the full application, it was certainly the drawings, and we never heard from her one way or the other.
So you did your part?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And she's not on the side that's affected directly anyway?
Well, it's the side that would be affected in the sense that we would be building closer on the setback.
Oh, okay.
So we would be building closer to her property.
It's
Screened, certainly, from,
Yes,
by the
by
bushes.
trees and by a fence.
Would you like a motion?
I'd love a motion. I think it's actually, I would just note for the record, I think the drawings and the putting the stairs both ways with the covered stoop, very nice.
Thank you.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution granting use permit V 1077813 UP1, subject to the conditions listed in the resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Craven and Mr. Russell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Hughes. Have a nice night. Actually, let me just take this moment to say, as in the reports indicate, after you're done here, then you still need to get building permits and follow all the instructions that are in the granting, and that's why I say make sure you take a report with you.
Okay, our next case is V-10779-13-UP-1. It's a use permit request by Adida Shamil to permit a setback of 15.3 feet to the eave and 15.9 feet to the wall of a new sunroom from the North Inglewood Street right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. It's for a new one-story right-side sunroom addition. This is in the R6 zoning district on a premises known as 5448 22nd Street North.
And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution approving the subject use permit with conditions. Any questions of staff? Is Edya Smidl here? I think this is, no, that's not the case. Oh dear. Pick the last. No. I think there was a speaker on the last case, was there? No, that's this one. No, 7-8. Mr. Noxon, did you hear from the applicants?
I've not heard from the owner, and I wasn't sure if the actual contractor was going to come. I had a tough time getting in contact with, I think, 2 or 3 individuals at that company throughout the whole process. So,
What's the company? Oh,
Well, it's not a large request, but there are signatures from the neighbors in the packet, so we at least have some way in from the community.
and I would note that the new line is constructed in line with the existing wall on the right side of the home. so it doesn't extend out any further.
So the actual impact is minor. Mr. Russell or Ms. Craven, what's your pleasure?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
All right. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution granting use permit V 1077913 UP1, subject to the conditions listed in the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's granted.
Our next case tonight is V-10780-13-UP-1. It's a use permit request by Reed and Lisa Bush to permit a setback of 13 feet to the eave, 14 feet to the wall of a new screened porch, 16 feet to the bay window, 18 feet to the eave, and 19 feet to the wall of a two-story addition, all from the rear property line instead of 25 feet as required, and also a setback of 18.5 feet to the eave and 19.5 feet to the porch base from the 21st Street North right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. It's for a new one-story rear screened porch, a new two-story rear addition with a second-story bay window, and also a new covered front porch with steps. This is in the R6 zoning district on the premises known as 5849 21st Street North.
And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution approving the subject use permit with conditions.
I have a question of staff.
Yes. Ms. Craven?
In the calculating lot coverage, it appears as though they exceed the main building lot coverage, at least according to the calculation that is 31.7 instead of the 30% for the main building footprint. And I didn't know if that was,
Those are their calculations. They hadn't updated them. When I calculated it, they were under still.
okay, thank you.
We double check it every time.
Okay. I certainly hadn't noticed anything that seemed a problem in the report, but I had just seen that number. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Craven, for clarifying the record on that matter, and Mr. Noxon for the information. I think Mr. Bush is here. Mr. Bush, is there anything you'd like to share with the board?
No, I mean, the addition to the rear is within, it's actually, as you said, 19 feet and 14 feet setbacks, and our neighbors are a lot closer, at around 8.5 and 10 feet for a couple houses to the left of ours. And we have a large parkland behind our house that is about, I don't know, 50 or 60 feet wide that separates the rear of our house from any houses behind us. So, I mean, it's virtually in the rural area of Arlington County, if you will.
And would those neighbors be the ones at 5857 21st Street North? Do you know? The report indicates it's a 10-foot setback. That's the only reason.
There is a 10-foot, two houses to the left of ours is I believe a 10-foot, and then three houses to the left of ours is just approved I believe an 8 or 8.5 foot setback. They just had a zoning appeal last month.
Oh.
That's why I was going to ask that question. We just saw one.
I thought this was a neighborhood we also just saw as well, so.
Sorry?
I was saying, we were just saying, we thought that we recognized the neighborhood.
Yeah. So 5850 is going to be within 8 feet, and 5857 is at 10 feet right now.
Yeah.
We're in a small lot. It's only like 5,000 square feet.
It's not as small as many in the county, but yes.
Overall, it's a cape, and the overall structure from the front really doesn't change except the addition of the porch. The issue with the front porch, having to get a variance for that is because I think it was all of 1/2 of 1 foot encroached on the front left corner of the porch because of the way that the street bends in. It's kind of a pipe stem dead end street, so our sidewalk is uneven out front.
Doesn't this little development have a name like Parkhurst?
Right.
Parkhurst, yeah.
Yeah. It's the old Greenway design from England that kind of connects the parkland behind with other neighborhoods.
Cool. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'm prepared to accept a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution granting use permit V 1078013 UP1, subject to the conditions listed in the resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, Ms. Bush.
Okay, the next case is V-10781-13-UP-1. This is a use permit request by David and Julia Thompson to permit a setback of 21.5 feet to the eave and 22.5 feet to the wall of a new one-story garage addition from the Williamsburg Boulevard right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. It's for the construction of a new one-story garage addition on the front of the home. This is in the R10 zoning district on the premises known as 6524 Williamsburg Boulevard.
And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution approving the subject use permit with conditions.
Question of staff?
Yes, questions of staff?
In the conclusion, you note that the placement of the proposal would not be compatible with the development of the surrounding properties. Or it'd be in accordance with the purpose of the master plan. Not compatible because other people do not have garages in the front.
That's correct. The closest garage is about 30 feet away from the street. There aren't really a lot of garages on this street. You have other homes, if you see to the left on the aerial photo, those homes are closer than this one is now, but we didn't have any plats to give us an exact number of how close they are. But I mean, there really aren't many garages at all. But we did view this as a pretty modest encroachment into the front yard setback. That's why we gave it the approval recommendation.
Luckily, we're not approving a design concept because what we used to call a snout house is basically what this is, that the garage is in the front.
I did ask them to consider if they could move it back, but just the way the house is designed, they wanted to keep that design and keep a bedroom behind.
Are David or Julia Thompson present? Will you come forward, Mr. Thompson? Any questions of Mr. Thompson? Or first, actually, before we ask questions, do you have anything you want to share with us?
No, I do not, thank you. I do thank you for your time in preparing things. There is apparently a clerical error on the resolve, but I'm sure that can be clarified later. It talks about a rear deck.
Well, no, if there's something, we should probably get it on the record now. So what did you see in the resolution?
Page 4.
It says denies. We definitely don't want to.
Now therefore be it resolved that the BZA hereby denies special use permit case in my number for an existing rear deck, but approves a use permit for a new two-story front addition. So I think that's clerical.
Should be approved. Thank you.
But there's no deck.
There's no deck. I think shouldn't be approved. It should. There's the deck part got put in there that shouldn't have been.
It is the case that I had a deck some 20 years ago, so I thought that might just be a technical thing.
That may be what happened there.
Sure.
Okay. Should be just approves a use permit for a. That whole line should be struck through. So we're just saying case number V-10781-13-UP-1 subject to the following. That should be approves.
Okay.
It's like
Just
a copy
take
and
it- so-
paste error.
So take out deny special use permit, case number, whatever.
Should be approved special use permit case number V-10781-13-UP-1 subject to the following.
Take out the phrase after the number, up to the phrase subject to the following. Got it.
Good eye.
Clerical.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Not that you're building a deck, so it wouldn't have mattered that much, but it is good to keep the record straight.
He's not building a two-story addition either.
Nor would I pay for it. conditions.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, if I may. It seems to me that that the setback modification is fairly minor and within the range of what is often approved by use permit by the Board of Zoning Appeals and recommended for approval by the staff. So I would move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt a resolution approving the use permit subject to the conditions listed in the resolution and with the change to the resolution on the sixth paragraph to read as follows. Now therefore be it resolved that the BZA hereby approves special use permit case number V107813 UP1 subject to the following and then the conditions that follow there.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
This case is V-10782-13-UP-1. This is a use permit request by Marco and Elizabeth Delmar to permit a setback of 2.2 feet to the eave and 5.4 feet to the wall of a new 2.5-story dwelling from the North Elwood Street right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. Also, setbacks of 11.8 feet to the porch eave and 13.8 feet to the porch base, as well as 18.3 feet to the eave of the home and 20.2 feet to the chimney, and also 21.3 feet to the wall of the new 2.5-story dwelling from the second road right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. And finally, 8 feet to a bay window from the left side property line instead of 10 feet as required. And this is all for the construction of a new 2.5-story single-family dwelling with a covered front porch with steps, a rear covered stoop with steps, a left side covered stoop with steps, and also a left side 2-story cantilevered bay window. This is on the premises known as 2803 Second Road North.
And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution approving the subject use permit with conditions. Questions of staff?
Yes. In the write-up, it says that the proposed footprint is slightly larger in size than the existing home. And I did see that, I assume that the change in square footage is because of the 2-story wing on the right side, which enlarges it, right?
Correct.
And is that basically the change? I'm sorry, sometimes numbers, I'd have to do a whole chart, and I just couldn't make myself do that. So I thought that is basically the addition, right?
Correct.
To what the existing footprint is. Okay.
Otherwise, we're looking at about 0.1 foot wider on the, let's see, it's about 0.1 foot deeper and another 1.3 feet wider for the main portion of the footprint.
Okay. Yes. And if you all have not driven by this, the tarp does not do justice how amazing this house was damaged by the storm.
If you go back to the first photo really shows it well.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Are Marco or Elizabeth Delmar here? Oh, and the family. Getting a civics lesson tonight. Good job. Would you like to share anything with the board?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say, I mean, you've got all the information. I could give you the history of the house. It was been owned by Marco's parents starting in 1966, and we've become the owners, for 18, 19 years now. Obviously, it's our family home. It was his family's home. There's a lot of history there. Other than that, I mean, it has never been in our intent to knock down and rebuild a house. This was our neighbor's tree that fell and basically sort of tomahawked the entire front right corner of the house. We were inside during the storm. It was scary. Luckily, nobody was hurt. The attic, the bedroom ended up on the dining room table, which we had just finished eating in the dark, of course, because the power had gone off. So You know, all I can say is you know, we're at your mercy. We just want to
We're
go
happy to be
home.
here.
We're, you know, we've been, you know, we had to vacate the house. Arlington condemned it, so we've been in temporary housing.
Oh, wow.
Needless to say, it's been a trying time, so, and it's not a process we ever thought we'd have to go through, but we're getting a lot of lessons.
Right.
So, that's about it.
And as the report notes, you also have a very odd lot shape, which is causing some of the issues with regard to this.
We learned when we started the process, and I guess, well, you know all the points, you know, we, the buildable portion of our lot would have given us a, I don't know, what, a 10 by 10 foot house. So, yeah, I mean, we knew it probably didn't conform, but wow, it was extreme.
Yeah.
So, and basically, the instructions we gave to our architect was, you know, I mean, build the same thing. We loved the house, and we thought, okay, if we're going to go through this, why don't we, you know, do something we've always talked about and just never did and followed through with, which is that bump out on the driveway side of the house. So,
Any questions? It's a very thorough packet. We appreciate all the work.
Yeah. I'm ready for a motion. if
There are no
Mr.
more
Russell
no
is.
questions. I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution granting use permit V10782 13 UP1, subject to the conditions listed in the resolution.
All in favor?
Second.
Oh, sorry. Jump ahead myself. Well, I know. Let's see, with only two of them, I don't have to wait till I find out who's going to second. Mr. Russell, thank you. Second from Mr. Russell. Now, all in favor? Aye. That's approved. Thank you very much.
Hope you get back in your home as soon as possible.
Okay. The next case is V-10783-13-UP-1. It's a use permit request by Thomas and Teresa Coluccia to permit a setback of 2.6 feet to an existing deck from the rear property line instead of 10 feet as required, 16 feet to the eave and 17 feet to the wall of a new two-story addition, and also 13 feet to an existing deck from the Washington Boulevard right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required, and also 14.5 feet to the eave and 15.5 feet to the wall of a new two-story addition from the easement for public street purposes along North Bryan Street instead of 25 feet as required. This is for an existing right side deck to be maintained in the current location, and also a new two-story front addition with a landing and steps. This is in the R5 zoning district, premises known as 408 North Bryan Street.
And now we know what the language that came from the other case, where it came from. The recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution denying the deck but approving a use permit for a new two-story front addition with conditions. And an alternative resolution has been included should the BZA wish to approve the use permit as it was advertised. Questions of staff?
I guess I do have a question. I had asked a couple of cases ago about something being compatible, and even though it wasn't compatible, you were recommending approval. So in this case, because the deck is not compatible, you're not recommending approval of that part of it. Why in this case does the lack of compatibility cause you to say that to not approve it?
Well, it was also the fact that this is built without a permit, constructed illegally. And it's just, usually with recommendations for decks, we won't recommend anything that's closer than 5 feet to the property line.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Russell.
question two. Do we have there we go. I was looking for a slide that showed this deck. Is there one that shows it from the other side?
Yes. Go down one, Cheryl, if you could, please.
So this, I see. That's it.
Are Thomas or Teresa Kalukia here?
Evening.
Hi, good evening. What would you like to share with us this evening?
So first, thank you to the staff and the board members. Appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. Wanted to start off, we moved into this house 14 years ago. We very much enjoy living in Arlington County, and we moved in two newlyweds, and since the family has grown, we are now 5, and very much enjoy the house. And it's time to grow. We didn't want to have to leave the county. We thought it was better that we add on than leave this area that we really, really enjoy. So, with regard to the retaining wall and the deck, the work was done at the same time, and we had worked with a licensed contractor at that time. We understand a permit was pulled. It was our understanding at the time that a permit was pulled for the work to include the deck. And that's kind of how we got where we are right now.
How long ago was that?
So when we, I'm sorry,
How long ago?
1999, no, 2009.
2000.
When we came to submit our application for the use permit, that's when we found out that our deck was not permitted. We submitted our application, and the employee for the county asked us about our deck and the permit for the deck. And so we were just as surprised as anybody that the extension to our deck, and it was an extension because if you flip the picture, the portion of the deck, the smallest portion closest to our sliding glass doors, that portion was there when we moved in. So that the 2.6 foot easement, that was also existing when we moved in. So our plat and what we purchased with our house showed that setback at the time. So we gave that to our contractor, and we asked him to permit the extension that you see on our deck with the retaining wall. And so we were just as surprised as anybody else that that piece of the work was not permitted.
Was the retaining wall permitted?
Yes, and we have copies of that we brought with us tonight. And we're still trying to track him down. He is no longer operating under the same business license, so we can't find the individual. So unfortunately, we were just as surprised as anyone, can't find the individual that did the work, and we're operating on the same line that you see going straight back to the gate that was also, on the property when we, moved into the house. So we weren't operating under any.
We just didn't know.
Right. When we talked to our neighbor and we had her, we were going through this process for the use permit, we asked her if she's most closely affected because the fence that you see there is her property's on the other side. She's been there. They were there before we were. She's not.
You're talking about the Rizzos?
I'm sorry.
The Rizzos?
Yes.
Okay.
She's not bothered by it. She's not affected by it. She's never had an issue with it. Dinner out there with our children. We're just.
Let me see an aerial view. No, it doesn't. I don't think it shows the deck that well. Where is the deck on this picture?
Fortunately, you can't really see it. It's
Where the red
behind the
line is?
house, exactly.
So just trying to get a sense of how close that fence is to the property next to you. So the Rizzos is the one up.
This weird one,
It's actually
yeah.
the Rizzo's fence.
configuration of houses, isn't it?
Strange ones tonight. This one and the one before you is like, oh boy.
We suffered with that too. It's hard to even describe where the fence is, but it's along the diagonal line. It's a diagonal line.
That's pretty much right on the property line, too, from the plat.
In a picture yet. Very well, yeah.
Well, the build-out of the house looks nice, and given your growing family, obviously something that you need on the other side.
Thank you.
Board have any questions?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Russell.
this is not a, well, it is a question. First of all, I'll make a statement that I think that the proposed addition, forgetting the deck for a minute, the proposed addition would appear to considerably enhance the appearance of the house to the corner because there are no windows on that side, and it looks like it would dress up that corner nicely. The concern I would have with the deck, rather than its placement, is, and my question would be, has there been a building code inspection of this deck by anybody at this point?
I don't believe so.
As if, let's say that your contractor had asked for a permit, it had met zoning signed off on it, then when it was constructed, it would have been inspected for building code and meet the code. It looks substantial to me. It doesn't look like, it looks like it might have, but I have no expertise there. And I think that if I was considering to make a motion about them being able to keep the deck, I would want to have them get a building permit. If they find something, it might have to be fixed. That's the only thing. What we approve is placement, but not code. And I'd hate for it to, he didn't get a permit, so did he build it right? And if it fell and you were having a party, that kind of thing, that would be, we'd all be very sad about that. So that's kind of my thinking about the deck.
I like that.
Well, I think that goes in line with our obligation to look at the public's health and safety of any conditions that we could add, and so that sounds reasonable to me, Mr. Russell.
Mm-hmm. And I usually don't like supporting something when staff has a reason to deny it, but I think in this case you have a lot of circumstances that make it, and I agree with you if we add that as a condition or however we need to do it.
And they have support of the adjacent neighbor who's most affected, and
Exactly.
it's somewhat accidental, but the true test is the thing that's been there for some years, and there's experience with it. So it's kind of a full-scale model of the proposal.
True.
Not to make light of it, but
You can't say they don't know what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd be prepared to take a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the resolution approving, do I have it?
Alternative resolution, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
It just says
Adopt the
similar.
alternative resolution approving the addition, subject to the conditions, and the existing
I think
deck. And I would add a,
there is a building permit requirement.
yes, good, condition number 4.
Mm-hmm.
To obtain a building permit to construct the addition structure permitted herein by May 9th, 2014 for the use. Well, that's for the addition as well, but I would want to make sure that included a permit for the deck, at least a building inspection.
How about obtain building permits
Mm-hmm.
for the construction and the deck?
How about if we said the applicant shall obtain a building permit for the existing deck and construction of the addition? So we make it very clear that it's two different things.
That sounds good.
Mr. Russell, will you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Do.
And I second it then.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the alternative resolution as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next case tonight is V-10784-13-VA-1. This is a variance request by John and Carol Hunter to permit a main building footprint coverage of 27.9% instead of 25% as required. It's for the construction of a new one-story rear addition with a garage and a landing with steps. This is in the R10 zoning district, premises known as 2202 24th Street North.
Okay. And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution denying the variance. Any questions of staff? We'll start there.
I did have a question. Oh, I know. Yes, I do have a question. So the main building footprint coverage is 27.9%, 25% is allowed, but then there are these other categories with rear detached garage and with rear garage and front porch. How come none of those kick in for this particular?
First of all, the garage is attached to the structure,
Okay,
so we don't have a detached garage there. And the second portion is we don't have a true front porch. There is a porch that is on what you would call the front of the house, but under the zoning ordinance, that faces the other way and not the front, which is where the street frontage is.
okay. And that category requires not just a rear garage, but a rear garage and a front porch, both?
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of staff? If not, are John or Carol Hunter present? I believe we also have another speaker for this case as well, so. Oh, are you representative with the?
Yeah, we weren't sure if Mr. Hunter was.
No, it's good to have you put a signature in. You're Mr. Tinter? Yes. Stephen Tinter is also with Mr. Hunter. I assume you're his builder or architect?
With Cook Brothers.
Should I start?
Yes, you may start, please.
Thank you very much for taking time. First of all, I'd just like to give you a little background. We've lived in the house for 30 years, and the only reason we're seeking to change it, we love the house. The only reason we're seeking to change it is my wife has become very ill. She has pulmonary fibrosis. She has leukemia, and she has heart failure, and she can't do the steps anymore. So one of the recommendations, for example, was to build up, and that won't help us. We need to get on one floor. Our current bedroom is upstairs. There is no bedroom on the main floor. So we have to go up. Also, for our full baths are upstairs, and the laundry is downstairs. So there's quite a few steps for my wife, and she's really, really struggling to get. And that's really, really what the whole thing is. So 2 years ago, we started looking around at Green Spring and other options, and we decided we loved our house. We loved the neighbors. We do quite a bit of work at the Cedars. I've been on the Point for Africa for them for years. And so I'm right there with all the things we love. And so we said we have to find a way to stay, and the only way to stay is to find a single level solution. And so the Cook Brothers helped us with that, and that's what's before you. We did look at elevators and all kinds of other options. This is the one that we thought was the best. We do have signatures from all the neighbors. I think you have them. And the Woodmont Civic Association all supporting it. They'd like us to stay. If we can't get a single layer, we can't. and there's also a use permit involved in this. I may be talking a little too long, but
No,
it's
that's
really
fine.
2 pieces.
Madam Chairman, I have a question for the staff. It's probably here, I thought I saw it and I just can't find. What is the addition, the square footage of the 2.9% difference? Do you have that? Did I see that?
The addition, you're looking at 483.2 square feet.
But the 2% of that,
2% of that,
or no, be 5% of that?
No, here it is. It's 2806 minus 2520, whatever that is. What I was getting at is, what is the actual square footage of the difference in building footprint? I apologize, let me do some quick.
I could probably find that for you.
I get 286 square feet.
I think I had 282 when I calculated. It was right around 282 square feet.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to get a sense of what was the real difference in building footprint that we're dealing with. And if I may, Monica asked a very good question. The front porch, they're not getting a credit for the front porch?
They wouldn't.
Why?
It's not on the true front of the house. You have a whole front of the house there that is closer to the street, and then this is recessed by the side. And then the coverage bonus discusses wraparound porches. If you see, I think we have it here on the first page.
I have to say, it's not the true porch, but it's the real porch. It's really in the front of our house.
Really the front.
I understand.
Let's get the section for you here real
Grade
quick.
on that side too, right?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that-
steep grade on what you call the front. You couldn't put a front porch hardly.
walk up to get to
Okay,
the house.
section C, where it talks about coverage, CD, talks about when a porch is attached to the front elevation of a one-family dwelling and has an area of at least 60 square feet on the front of the building, exclusive of any wraparound or side portion. The coverage may be increased as shown in the table below.
And how much does that increase?
That's going to increase by, if you have the front porch, you can get up to 28%.
Which would be where
Exactly.
Including the porch. And the porch, what is it, 9 by 9? Is that what I'm seeing? 81 square feet?
I don't think the porch was enough to get him. I think he's still, let me see, what is he, 27.9? But once you, I'm trying to think, once you add the porch into that.
No, we would move the porch.
No.
Yeah, that may get them there if that did count.
Can we see the pictures on, do we have a picture of the front, of the porch? Just
Well, that's a proposed porch. You mean the
the existing, yeah. Isn't there an existing one?
Just a stoop.
I think it's just a regular stoop.
Do we have a front picture of the house?
I think that the 81 square feet is included in the calculation
is.
that you did. So, I guess what we kind of found amusing is if we took that porch that we proposed to build over the front door and we just put it on the side, we would be allowed the 28%, which it would be by right. The same also goes, I think, for the use permit that's coming up, is that if this were truly the front of the house, which functionally it is, there wouldn't be a need for the use permit, I don't believe either. So I think that's where we are kind of, it's just an interesting situation because of what the functional front of the house is versus what the actual frontage is.
It's the actual front, and then you'll be okay, because then you'll be within coverage.
Right, but if there's a picture, I don't know if there's a picture of this, the grade is extremely steep there, so it wouldn't really be functional.
Chimney there, too.
Yeah, to do it, that's the problem.
Wouldn't be an entry porch.
Right, it would, yeah.
they'd be countering the reason that the benefit and bonus actually exists, but.
Well, I mean, we could spend a lot of time debating, the technicalities, because I might think there's a 25.8-foot front, the actual side of the house, but the front, and then there's 9 feet of front that sets back further. It depends upon whether you consider the front only to be the 25.8, or is it everything that fronts towards the street. Anyhow.
As a layperson, I was very surprised. I sent a letter before I started the process, and I said, I assume the 25 feet setbacks are toward the 2 streets. But then I got a letter back saying, no, they're not. One is toward the street. My front, I can go all the way up. I can do all kinds of things in front of my house.
It's this issue with the easement. It's a private easement, not a public right-of-way.
Yeah.
That's what, if that were a public right-of-way, you'd be on a corner lot, and exactly, you would have a 10-foot setback instead of 25 on that side.
Yeah. To a layman, it just didn't seem logical, the way it was decided.
Either way, that would still be your longer frontage, though, so your front would still be on 24th Street North, even if that were a corner.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that, but at least then the 2 streets would be the 2 25-foot setbacks. One of the streets being the cul-de-sac.
And he's not infringing on it.
Wow. I have to say, this discussion is very enlightening, because when I came in, I had a completely different idea about where I was going with this. But because I really did agree with staff that there's no demonstrable hardship on the lot. But now I'm beginning to wonder. This lot is very weird.
Ms. Williams, is the last picture then on the very bottom? Is that the true front with the chimney? Not this case? Oh, okay.
That's actually looking towards the right of where the addition would be, so looking toward the neighboring house.
No, I'm looking further down on the pictures, and Mr. Russell tells me that's the next case. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
I was thinking a chimney, and so I was confused.
This picture,
No, those 2 there, those are the correct ones.
Okay, there.
I think there was also just worth noting on it was, I think, the reason, just the letters that we submitted here talk about the use permit, not the variance. This was another one that actually came up as a surprise. The variance came up, and what it was actually an error on our part, but that the zoning office had caught. I think what put us, originally we were under the lot coverage, and then I guess there's a rear wraparound deck around the enclosed porch that, since that's above 4 feet off a grade, they've counted that towards the main building footprint as well. And that's why these, just to point out, these letters talk about the use permit, but not necessarily the variance.
Yeah, when I went to the neighbors, I didn't know there was a variance involved.
At first, we didn't realize it, yeah.
It's just the deck that wraps around the enclosed porch that's causing it?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because I think before we put that on there, that originally when we submitted, that wasn't included in the main building's footprint. And then I guess when they did a site visit, they realized, we didn't realize the 4-foot rule. So when they did their site visit, they said, well, since it's above 4 feet off a grade, that has to count towards the main building's footprint.
But that's not enough to make up that percentage, is it? Between 25 and 27.9?
I thought that was.
238.5
That must be more than just the deck.
It was pretty close, but I don't think that makes up 280 square feet.
I thought that was what it, I thought that's what it flagged it when we originally were.
It says on the one proposal, 238.5 for the existing rear deck.
So it's close.
So take the deck off and we're okay?
Take the garage off.
For a deck?
Yeah.
I think the deck plus the overhang gets you. The
That might have been it, too.
overhang adds
Yeah,
another 60 square feet or something like that.
That might have been what it was.
That would have been, he'd be under without the,
Floor space, so it's like a cantilever.
This is
Second story.
cantilever
Oh,
over here.
Gotcha.
Which they count towards, I guess, the lot cover, or to the main building's footprint.
Exactly.
That's
Is
right.
that the
I
roof?
remember that, Greg had mentioned that in my
the roof hanging over?
Yeah, second story on that backside, yeah.
story there. So,
Okay.
yeah, there's all these little.
How about, apologize for asking for things that are probably right here. How about coverage, just straight up lot coverage of this particular dwelling?
I think it's here, this page.
Lot coverage, they're still under.
Window coverage is 18.91. Does that relate to the 32% you can have?
Yeah,
Correct. They're allowed 32% lot coverage.
The addition, it goes to 28.
Okay.
The last two pages in the packet.
Now I'm confused. So what's missed in the 24.4? It's actually supposed to be 27 point something?
Yeah, we had resubmitted it, and I don't think it got into this, once my draftsman talked to Drew about including the overhang, and I think he brought another one down, and I don't know if it got switched out with this. I think this was the one that we originally submitted when we went for the use permit, and then once we recalculated it, we realized we needed the variance as well.
Yeah.
So the deck that makes this over is an existing deck. And the overhang is not adjacent to any of the other properties. Correct?
Yes, that's right. Let's just point out at the street.
The overhang is actually,
I want to say it's on the front.
exactly, it's facing 24th Street, so it doesn't impact anybody else.
Right.
So this really, if we granted this variance, it would not be detrimental to any neighboring properties beyond the existing detriment of that deck. Would you agree with my logic?
Well, the addition is adjacent to somebody else's property.
Yes,
and
but
house.
that's not what's if you consider what's causing the overage to be the deck and the overhang, that's not causing the problem. See where my logic is going?
Well, another way to look at it, and this is a very, very, very nice to have, but the majority of what you've cited as being the need, your wife's health and so forth, if you did not build the garage part, you could build within the footprint. Now,
I would need at least a storage area.
Yeah.
I mean, for that, basically that garage would be used for my lawnmowers, my, stuff like that.
I understand, but
There's no place for that.
I'm just exploring things. You could reduce the garage space, not have a garage, reduce the garage space by the 280-some square feet,
So it's still a storage space, but not a garage.
and all the other rooms and so forth that you're planning.
It's possible to put a detached garage in that corner too, because since that is a rear and a side lot line, well, actually, yeah. That right side lot line, the rear one, they could put a detached garage within 1 foot of either of those two lot lines and still make it 8 feet away from the house. I mean, that is a possibility. I'm not sure how large of a structure they could get there.
There's also the access issue. That's what we had originally explored with them too, having direct access from a garage to be able to pull in out of the weather.
But if he's going to be using it as storage, you're not going to be able to use it as a garage.
Well, that's why it's the size. We try to kind of be able to get the best of all worlds if we could, to be able to accommodate storage for some stuff and still be able to fit a car into it. It's actually for a garage, and in terms of design, it's a fairly modest size one-car garage. Tried to accommodate both functionality and
No, Mr. Knoxon, remind me again, if they put a breezeway in between, detach it, move it, I guess, can they move it forward, or is that going to take it?
The breezeway is still going to make it part of the main building, unfortunately.
So what you were speculating on, Drew, was a garage on this right side line, essentially against the driveways that go, the private street, if you will, that goes in there.
Correct.
Very close to that. And still would be able, garage function on the property. The problem is what we have to find to grant a variance.
We'd have to cut it on a tree, I think.
If you were to build the garage that way?
Yeah, I think, because if you move it over, like I think you're saying, there's a tree sort of in the way for actually driving in there.
Right.
And let me be clear, I am not suggesting an alternative. I'm pointing out, we were talking about deck removal, putting a porch on the opposite end of the house. I mean, there's a whole variety of things. And I was trying to think about there for a minute, what, if you lined things up as essentials, what would be the least essential? And an indoor space for the car, if that kept you from getting what you need for your wife, that would be something.
I agree, that would be the least.
You've certainly enjoyed a two-car garage for many years, and as somebody who likes to keep a car in a garage.
We do have a two-car garage currently. I would, that would be the least essential, because everything else is living space, laundry, bath, stuff like that. So.
And I guess going to Mr. Russell's point a moment ago, I go back to the points that I raised at the beginning of the meeting. To grant a variance, there has to be a strict application of the ordinance would produce undue hardship, and I think that's what Mr. Russell's struggling with a little bit. However, my sentiment with this is because of the private drive, that there is an undue, that potentially there's an undue hardship to your property versus other properties in the county where you don't necessarily have that true front being the side and those kinds of issues playing on the property. And that hardship, therefore, is also one that would not be generally shared by other properties in the same zoning district, because not every house in your area have those same issues with those two same roads coming against their property. And finally, that the authorization of the variance will not be substantial detriment to the adjacent property. And I think given the size of the lot, it's not one that there's going to be huge encroachment, given Ms. Craven's points with regard to the only impact of the cantilever of the building is something that I think, had this be standing alone in a different circumstance, would be something that we would grant. But that's sort of been where I've been thinking about with regard to the issue.
May I ask another question? We went around with this a minute ago. If there was a desire to put a porch on the front, off the living room and dining room, I believe you have there, what square footage does that need to be? Get it, where it gets it to 29%, but you count it, right?
They need 60 square feet, and if they did exactly 60 square feet, they would still have to cut their addition down a little bit.
No, I'm looking for what size porch could get you up to, what is it, 20?
Yeah, the 60 square feet is what you need to get that bonus.
Would we be able to take that, we'd be able to also take that off of the proposed porch, though? It wouldn't necessarily have to come off the garage, is that correct? Because it would.
And that would get you up to 40%.
Well, we're talking about if you put a porch on the 24th Street side, on that, which is kind of the side of the house,
Right.
that would give you a bonus.
Right, but you were also talking about that square footage might put us over the total
You,
other porch that's proposed over the front door. That's what I think we were saying before, is if we took that proposed 81 square
We
feet
could
and
only
just
take
moved
from the
it over
35.
front,
That's
then
with
we
front
would get
porch,
the
but they've got a
bonus.
rear garage, too.
you would get the bonus, but I still think you're over. You'd have to lose part of the sitting room or something like that. I did a few calculations. You'd still have to lose a little bit more.
See, that's what I'm missing with what the front porch gets you.
Yeah.
If that's all we were looking at, if we weren't,
Doesn't it get you 35% coverage if you've got a front porch?
Well, it gives you the 28% for the main building footprint coverage instead of 25, so it gives you an extra 3%.
Why doesn't it give you 35% the way this chart shows?
Because this is main building footprint coverage, not lot coverage.
yeah. It's,
Gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha.
They're okay on their lot coverage. It's the main building footprint coverage, which they're exceeding.
Gotcha, so it's 28, okay.
I have to say that building a unusable front porch to
Well,
gain what we really want doesn't make much sense
I
to me.
I was not proposing at all that you build an unusual front porch.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought that if you built a front porch, there was a certain, it raised you up. Now, I would propose that you get a use permit for a porch that's
You can't
6 or 8 feet deep, runs the full length of the front, is a beautiful space to walk out on, just because it's on the street. I mean, the purpose of.
Sorry, I
of front-
misunderstood.
No, the purpose of doing front porches on, there was a desire when these amendments were done that has brought us here, to encourage people to do front porches in the county for the design that it gives the neighborhood and the pleasure that it gives people to have a front porch. So, I wasn't implying to just stick a porch on there.
And I guess, Mr. Hunter, the other point I think that my colleagues are struggling with, and just to make clear, your wife's condition and the reason you need to go to a one-story building is not something that we can take into account as we're supposed to make our determination, because that's not hardship to the property, that's hardship to the property owners. And unfortunately, that's not something that can be persuasive. Just want to make sure you understand that for the record. Even though I think that that's why the neighbors understand what's going on, and you've been long-term residents of the county, and personally, I see that as something very important to try and maintain. But I'm waiting for my colleagues, because I'm not sure where to place of, since there's only 3 of us tonight, we have to see where we're going to go. If all 5 were here, there might be a different, dynamic.
Right.
But at
Yes,
least
if this
2.
were a use permit, it would be different, but because it is a variance, you're absolutely, I like the way you explained about the hardship. It's on the owners, not on the property. Unless you can,
Well, but
the
then,
way
but
you're discussing it, you
I was
think
gonna
that
say.
there might be a hardship on the property if we agreed to that.
Right. I mean, I think there is an articulable hardship on the property by virtue of the private street, but I don't know that that's necessarily unique, but I think it's unique to the property in this neighborhood at this time. And would be at least a legal basis to make a determination to grant the variance.
If I could add something, I mean, and we had a similar issue come up, I think, 2 or 3 months ago with an existing porch that we were trying to enclose for a homeowner. I forget the address in South Arlington, and it was the same thing. It was that the true front of the house wasn't the front of the house. That was a much smaller. It was only over by like I think 0.04% or something. So it wasn't as major, but when we had the 5 board members, one of the things that was brought up was that because of the way that there was the Cleveland Street, I think it was, or it ran up the side.
Long house on Cleveland Street.
Their
And
whole
not-
lives, and that it was taken into account as part of the hardship of of the variance being granted. So I'm not to throw something back in your face. We appreciate your consideration of that, but it has it has been discussed by the board in that context, I think.
Well, should I make a motion and see where it goes?
I think that's probably where we're at.
Okay. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached alternate resolution approving variance V 10784 13VA1.
No changes. I support that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Do I stay here for the other one? Use permit.
We could let him sit down, I suppose. You're welcome to sit down, but
You just had treatment, Mr. Hunter. Go ahead and have a seat. And if we have questions, we'll call you back up. We've also got Mr. Tinter here who can help us.
I wouldn't want to stand there.
Our next case, Mr. Knoxon?
Next one. Next case is V-10784-13-UP-1. This is a use permit request by John and Carol Hunter to permit a setback of 10 feet to the eave and 11 feet to the wall of a new one-story addition from the rear property line instead of 25 feet as required. It's for a new one-story rear addition with a garage and a landing with steps in the R10 zoning district. Same address, premises known as 2202 24th Street North.
And the recommendation is, in this matter, is to adopt the attached resolution denying the subject use permit, I think with the staff's recommendation stemming from the fact that they had denied the variance, so therefore the use permit would not be appropriate. But I believe the staff has provided us with an alternative resolution.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Russell?
this is the use permit that relates to the structure we just approved by variance, or the variance to the main footprint. So if you approve the first, you sort of make sense to approve this. So I would, if you're ready for a motion.
I am.
Can find it.
Page 5. Well, no.
We don't have an alternative recommendation.
Didn't do an
I move
alternative.
that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the resolution approving use permit V 1078413 UP1, subject to the conditions in the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you are.
Thank you.
The next case is V-10785-13-UP-1. This is a use permit request by Lynn Capusta to permit a setback of 3.5 feet to a new landing and steps from the left side property line instead of 8 feet as required, 8 feet to a new deck, 9 feet to a new bay window, and 9.5 feet to the eave of a new second-story addition from the North Stafford Street right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required, and also 9 feet to the eave and 10 feet to the base, a new covered front porch, and also 14.2 feet to the eave of a new second-story addition from the 21st Road North right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. It's for a new left side stoop with steps, a rear deck, 2 right side bay windows, a covered front porch with steps, and a new eave overhang for a new second-story addition above the existing main building footprint. This is in the R5 zoning district, premises known as 4144 21st Road North.
And just to let people know, this is our last item, or this involves the last property, which, right, there's three
With 3 properties altogether.
properties. So the recommendation on this property is to adopt the attached resolution for setback as Mr. Noxon just described it. I'm not going to read the whole thing over again. Questions of staff?
And just for the record, the recommendation was for revised setback to the deck. Thank you, Mr. Noxon.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Russell.
trying to see Mr. Noxon on, the deck is a request for 8, but the corner of the house is 9.5, is that, or 11? Is 9.5?
The request is for 9.5.
The recommendation is for 8.
Sorry, 8 feet. 8 feet is the request, 11 feet is the recommendation.
I think sorry to interrupt you, the 9.5 is for a bay window.
It's
Very corner of the house is 11.
yes, the existing corner of the house is at 11.
Right. I bring that up, that if we were looking for some alternative, that the house already encroaches to 11. If he had proposed a deck to not come all the way to the corner and be 11 from the street, and the staff was recommending against it, we still might, we wouldn't be increasing well, we would be increasing the encroachment in the sense that there's more area encroaching, that being the deck, but and I was trying to understand which one of these things, there was 9, 11, 9.5, 8.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a lot going on in one house.
and I don't mean to be flip, but I believe that if we were designing a town, there would be no corner lots. If there was, particularly the 5 of us, even though Ms. Craven enjoys hers.
Actually, I lived in more corner lot houses than any other houses my whole life. It's the weirdest thing. I'm just, I guess, attracted to corner lots.
And just for clarification, this is restoring the existing building and adding a deck onto it. Or am I missing something?
They're bumping up a second story on it.
Got it.
So
Got it.
just making
I
some
am missing something.
additions to it here and there.
Thank you.
I think that's in the.
I got so caught
That's
up
in
in.
the second, that's in
yeah.
the second one.
Mhm, right. Yeah. That's where I was getting confused in the drawings.
And just out of curiosity, why are these in 3 use permit requests?
Sorry?
Why is this in 3 different requests and not just one request?
There are 2 more properties.
Yeah,
3 properties, all right on that same block.
okay.
And there's a picture that shows all 3 of them side by side. I think.
Yeah, I guess that's what I need.
You all heard one of them a few months ago, I think in either December or February.
Is that the one we heard?
They're doing what, 5 or 6 of them? The whole row of them?
We've done one already, which is 3-7. I think I saw a picture up there somewhere.
That one. See, and it's the two to the left as well, is that correct?
Well, that's the corner lot, and then these houses across the street, we're doing 3 of them, and I'm actually negotiating with the fourth owner to do the same work that we've been doing at these 3 houses.
Gotcha.
And this one is one of the ones we're looking at tonight, or is that,
This is one that we be asking for a sunroom on the front of the existing bump out. The one next door to the left of it, it was already done.
I was going to say, do we have a picture of the one that we approved before? So, that the one to the left is the one that's been done?
That's the one we approved, right?
Yes.
No,
I was going to say, that looks like the one we approved.
I thought about taking a picture of that one just to show it. I should have.
Then we can
It turned
see-
out really nice.
I was going to say, but then we'd also have whether it's consistent with the neighborhood, because we would be able to see what it's going to look like, right?
Wait a minute. This isn't the one we approved?
I was going to say,
It's
that
the
one's,
one further down the street?
it looks just like the one. Oh, I see, the one further down the street.
5 or 6 of those in a row are exactly the same, and they're doing the same thing to 3 of them.
3 of them so far.
One's
and
been
the
done.
fourth
You're
is
doing
on-
2 more now.
And the fourth is on the way, maybe next month.
You may have to
Trying to look
rename,
up a picture for the work that we've completed while you guys discuss this.
we may have to rename this corner for you.
I'm the contractor. I'm not Lynn Capusta.
But this one is a single-family home, whereas the second one is a duplex.
Yes, these are
One
2-family
also.
dwellings. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's really odd, because it doesn't look like a duplex.
Madam Chairman, I guess my feeling, I mean, it's a corner lot, and the buildable area is drawn on here. If it was square, the deck could run the full length of the back of the house probably, or that side of the house, whichever one it is. And to require that it not run the full length of the house for a few feet, sort of seems counterproductive.
I was gonna say, I always think those look really silly when they stop sort of in the middle. For,
I pulled the picture for the house that we completed. If you don't mind, I can show it to you.
I think we can look that way.
We don't have to take his cell phone from him.
No.
Is it a nice cell phone? Oh, it is.
If you bring it up.
Right, exactly.
It's point of information. Yeah.
And these are the 2 bay windows. They're only projecting 12 inches. Just give it a nicer, warmer feeling instead of it being plain.
That's the completion of what we approved. Right. Oh, that's nice to see. Yeah.
That looks nice. Better.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, I didn't ask you, did you have anything specifically you wanted to tell us? We just have been kind of thinking up here without you asking you any questions or giving you a chance to specifically put anything on the record.
I'll defer to you. I just would like to thank you all, and especially Andrew, who's been great. I mean, he spends all his time. He's really thorough with all the clients, and he's very dedicated. I mean, I just wanted to mention that in front of you. I mean, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad I asked you because we like it when people recognize the hard work of our public servants.
I've gotten calls from Andrew at like 5:30. I can tell he's been working hard, and he's always, following around. So, I mean, he's amazing. Thank you.
And any thought of chopping off the porch in the middle? What's your response to that?
The front porch or the rear deck?
I think it's the rear deck, isn't it?
It's the rear deck.
It's weird.
I'll take whatever you guys give me. I thought it was really spaced out from where the next neighbor is, so it doesn't, intrude with any privacy issues. But if that's your recommendation, I'll accept it.
Madam Chairman, the design It is, the deck is coming off the master bedroom on the second floor, and although certainly if you wanted to back it up, the door design could be different. But at this point, in order to accommodate the sliding glass door, it sort of has to be that wide.
Just to your comment, Mr. Russell, I can probably move it a foot to the left to maintain a 9-foot setback without having to redesign the door, or move the door, if that's a compromise.
What do we feel about 9 feet versus?
Let me look at I need to look at the plat again. I have no short-term memory whatsoever. Well, as I pointed out before, which is the legal front? Is this Stafford or 21st Road? So it's 21st Road, but it's a corner lot. So if it was a conforming, even if it was a corner lot,
Right, instead of
that wasn't
another angle.
like Monica's or like this one, that cuts back around onto Stafford Street, that deck as proposed could be put on it. So on an existing dwelling approved, and probably when the requirements weren't even the same. What year was this built? Before 50?
40.
Yeah, oh goodness. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Oh, please.
If I can find it. Do we have an alternative resolution on this one?
Yeah, I believe we do. Yes, it's page 7.
We have the alternative resolution, however. Okay, I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution for a setback of 3.5 feet to a new landing and steps from the left side property line instead of 8 feet as required. A revised setback of 11 feet, I'm sorry, that's your,
Yeah.
That's the alternative.
a revised, no.
No, that's your motion.
That's the original.
You didn't give us the motion language for the alternative.
So, let me start again. I move that the Board of Zoning, I didn't expect to run into the deck that quick. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the resolution, the alternative resolution for,
Just use that language.
page 7, okay.
Where you were going?
I make a motion that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the alternative resolution on case number V1078513 UP1 for a special use permit to permit a setback of 3.5 feet to a new landing and steps from the left side property line instead of 8 feet as required by Section 32D2B of the Arlington County Zoning Ordinance, 8 feet to a new deck, 9 feet to a new bay window, and 9.5 feet to the eave of a new second-story addition from the North Stafford Street right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required, and 9 feet to the eave and 10 feet to the base of a new covered front porch, and 14.2 feet to the eave of a new second-story addition from the 21st Road North right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required, for the construction of a new left-side stoop with steps, a rear deck, 2 right-side bay windows, a covered front porch with steps, and a new eave overhang for a new second-story addition above the existing main building footprint on premises known as 4144 21st Road North, subject to the conditions in the resolution.
Second.
I didn't want to read the whole thing at the beginning.
We're not going to read it on the next one.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I have a question. So basically, you adopted the alternative resolution, whereas I built it at 11-foot setback, so I just need to move it.
11, no. No, we adopted 8, didn't we? That's what we
Oh, you adopted
intended to
8?
do.
Yeah,
So
you're,
as it is?
you're going to build it as proposed,
Proposed,
As you
not
proposed
11.
it.
as requested.
Oh,
Exactly.
perfect, thank
By
you.
way of explanation, it's because of the unusual shape of the corner lot. It's not even just a corner lot, it's a triangular corner lot that really creates a lot of,
Appreciate that, thank you very much.
I think.
We think the owners will appreciate the,
Yes.
because sometimes when someone goes to buy a property or do something, they're not going to necessarily understand why that deck is built in a funny way.
Right.
To me, that was one of the reasons I supported the motion is
And
I think someone buying the property will appreciate the fact that we granted the variance so that you have a more consistent back porch.
I appreciate that, and that was the reason we cut it back 2 feet on each side, so we meet the setback on the other side. You know, I don't want to be pushing it too much, but thank you very much.
Great.
The next case is V-10786-13-UP-1, use permit request by Lynn Capusta to permit a setback of 9.8 feet to the eave and 10.8 feet to the wall, a new second-story addition, and 11.5 feet to 2 bay windows from the 21st Road North right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. It's for a new second-story addition and 2 new bay windows on the front of the home. This is in the R5 zoning district on the premises known as 4133 21st Road North.
And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution to approve the subject use permit with conditions. Any questions of staff? Any questions of our speaker, which for the record, for both cases, for all cases 785, 786, and 787, is Mr. Zadeh Jahar?
Zaid Gerard, yes.
Zaid Jahar.
Chairman, question?
Yes.
Is the photograph you showed us
Yes,
what this one will look like when it's done?
exactly the same.
Thinking.
Ready for a motion?
Yes.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution granting use permit V-10786-13-UP1.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now for our last case. This is case number V-10787-13-UP-1. It's a use permit request by Len Capusta to permit a setback of 10 feet to the eave and 11 feet to the wall of a new second-story addition, and also 11.7 feet to 2 bay windows from the 21st Road North right-of-way instead of 25 feet as required. This is also for a new second-story addition and 2 new bay windows on the front of the home. This is in the R5 zoning district on the premises known as 4145 21st Road North.
And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution to approve the subject use permit with conditions. And I believe this is the same thing that we've previously approved and that we just approved in the other house. Is that correct?
Exactly the same, yes.
If the pickup wasn't there, I wouldn't know there was a different house.
I do have a question. It's a duplex, but yet there just seems to be one main door.
Yes, see that bump out that's already existing? That's the entryway for the house. So you go in, that another door takes you to the first unit, and then there's a staircase to the right that takes you upstairs. So that addition is going for the upstairs.
So that's sort of the lobby.
Internal.
See that on the first floor plan. If you look at that, it shows that configuration there.
I didn't realize we had those kinds of two-story things. That's sort of like a New England
Right.
Or
house.
in Richmond on, gosh, what's that old street? I forget.
Park Avenue, that's one.
Thank you. Yeah. My sister had one.
I'm ready for a motion.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the attached resolution granting use permit V-10787-13-UP1.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're far too kind. Good night.
Good night.
Used to be a lot of those on this hill. Courthouse Hill had a lot of the duplexes. Remember when the whole hilltop redeveloped? The whole neighborhood got together and essentially sold the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Over on the highway? That side?
No, right over here.
Here, just across
The whole
the other
neighborhood
side
sold out
of
to a developer, and then the county board made a resolution against neighborhood buyout. Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, we have our minutes from April 11th, 2013. Is there any amendments to the minutes?
Looked good to me.
I thought so too.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Russell?
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the minutes of April 11th, 2013.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. And I think that concludes our business. Mr. Noxon, is there anything further to come before the board?
Nothing right now.
Okay, I would be prepared to take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Don't you need a second? I can't remember. I think you still do. All in favor? Aye. And I think we have aye, so it's unanimous.
I'm so sorry for being late. I was in Springfield for my